First of all, can you please put your hands together and welcome our first speaker, who is Simon Pod.
Thanks, Simon. Is it hot in here, or is it just me? So it's been a fantastic year, and I feel it's a real privilege to be up here, to be able to share my journey for the last 12 months with you guys. I've learnt a lot, and I've met a lot of fantastic people. So, following on from the learning session earlier on, where Charles, Michael gave some really great points. I feel privileged to be here. No, it's not. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Simon Pod. I'm based in southwest London. And how did I get to the point where I'm involved in property, especially when I spent most of my working life in advertising sales? I work for some great companies. I'm still friends, mates with many of my ex-colleagues. I enjoyed the actual job. So I liked negotiating. I liked selling client-led solutions. I liked the people aspect of it. What I didn't like was all the corporate SH1T that goes with working for large corporations and then later startups. And after a while, I started to get, quite cynical and skeptical. And in order to sort of maintain relevance in quite a long, in an ever-changing industry, I sort of took a couple of roles with sort of firms in the cutting-edge sector. But quite frankly, just wasn't up to it. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't willing to learn. I wasn't interested in the subject matter, and I was getting, sort of, as I said, more and more skeptical. And I know I'm in danger of becoming a cliche, but I just thought there's got to be more to life than this. And I remember sitting in my home office at my desk, and I was just paralysed. A bit like I am now, really. But I was paralysed with sort of fear and worry and unhappiness that I wasn't performing, because I felt guilty that I was earning, a reasonable wage, but I wasn't delivering. So Claire came into the office, and I said, look, I'm a bit of a low point here. It was like culmination, but I said, is it okay if I resign? And she said yes. Now, I didn't have a clue what I was going to do, and this was 2 years ago, pretty much to the day. I'd never read Rich Dad, Poor Dad until I got into Mastermind. But looking back now, I could see that I'd actually sort of implemented a lot of what Robert Kiyosaki said, because, we lived as a family within our means, which gave us choice. And choice is a big thing for me. So at that point, I realised that I could actually lease my freedom, but I didn't want to. But I could only lease it for so long. It's a bit like a car on HP. I knew that I didn't want to give it back at the end of the term. So I knew that I had to get out there and do something. I had to bring in an income. So I kissed a few frogs, like no doubt we all have. So I thought about consultancy, but that was just doing the same as what I was doing before, so that was never going to work. I spoke to franchises. We spoke about sort of just selling up from London, moving down to the southwest, lock, stock and barrel. But, I wasn't coming up with anything that was really going to give me a decent income. I was just putting off the inevitable, which was going to be going back to the corporate world. So to cut a long story short, I saw a chap at the swimming pool bars when I was with my daughter, and he had a copy of YPN. So I asked if I could borrow it, and I took it home, I read it, I subscribed that night. I then got Property Magic through the post in a couple of days, and I read it again, and I gave it to Claire, and she read it. And I thought, there's something in this. So I now know that potentially I can build an income from property. So what I'm now in a position to do is, earn my freedom. I haven't earned it yet, because a lot of what I'll present to you is like sort of I managed to provide the bedrock for earning an income, but it was all about earning the income. My why is my family. They gave me permission to give up my job. They didn't ask me to give up my job. So, I've put an enormous amount of pressure on myself from day one in order to do reasonably well at this, because I have to. So in terms of my strategy, like many of you, well, all of us, we went on Accelerator, and I learned shed loads. It's bloody intense. We didn't see the outdoors for 3 days. I met a really great, fantastic bunch of people, many of you here today. But what I didn't have any property experience. I was in desperate need of generating an income. And I was based in London. So, it's good because, I'm fortunate enough to live in London. I have a house in London, but, I couldn't invest in London. What I did have was plenty of time. I had access to some cash, but I had a real appetite to raise more. And what I've sort of understood is that I needed to work with people with more experience, more knowledge than I did in order to pull this off. So it was all about leveraging other people's talents. And I did. I was quite intense. I'm still reasonably intense. But from day one, I knew that what I was going to do, and so I did have a drive and focus. So in terms of what did we do? So sorry, let me just go back. So my strategy, his HMOs, it's within East Midlands, and it's based on working with other people. So my first project was a JV, and it was with Jonathan, who I'm so lucky to have met Jonathan. He was on Mastermind Accelerator, and at the end of the weekend, we said that we could work together sometime in the future. Jonathan, he brought us this deal. It was an absolute no-brainer, and it turned out to be our first project. So it was a direct vendor from a retiring landlord. It was running as a sort of 10-bed student house. The vendor, landlord, he was making a decent income from it. It had licensing and planning in place. But our goal was to create a premium house share for professional lets, and we wanted to break the rental ceiling in Derby. Derby's a fantastic area, great blue chip employers. So we knew we were in the right place. So my one challenge coming into Mastermind was I didn't really know where I was going to buy HMOs. I knew that I needed to buy them with the help of other people, but in some ways, like Jonathan solved that problem with where for me because he bought me this deal, so I didn't have to choose the area. So having no experience, spoke to the finance companies. They said, "We don't know anything. You've never done this before, and you're going in with a 10 beds, a bit ballsy. We're not going to lend to you." So I had to finance this myself, a combination of my money and other people's monies that I paid a fixed rate return on. So this is the property. We bought it for 205, spent 141, everything. It's been revalued at 435, which has allowed us to draw out a mortgage on this property. And I've got 20,000 left in the deal. And I'm making a decent income, or I will make a decent income from this one. The ROI, 70.5%. So I wish all deals were like this. I feel fortunate not only to have met Jonathan, sounds like, but my learning from this is that I was giving myself a hard time because, what am I doing? I'm not inventing a cure for cancer. I'm not inventing a light bulb or anything. I'm not doing anything. But I have to look back and realise that I don't need to do anything. I have to recognise what I can bring to the party and how I can enable deals like this to get off the ground. So, I do have an understanding. It's about working with people, leveraging other people's talents. This is a different model in as much as it's not a JV, it's not in East Midlands, it's in Salford, but I'm still relying heavily on working with other people. Jules and Sharon sourced this property for me. Jules alluded to it earlier on. So we exchanged on this a while back, and I'm still working with people because Jules and Sharon sourced it, and Jules is actually going to be doing the project managing on the refurb on this. And as a deal, it's a fantastic deal. It's not quite as good as the Derby property, but the really, really good thing about this deal is that it's all about the net cash flow for me. So I need to build an income. This property is going to provide that for me. And the reason why it does is because I've bought it with a SAS loan back. I never thought I'd get excited about pensions, but SAS, honestly, it was a right pain in the bum to set up. But now it's set up, it's going to provide so many opportunities for me. Originally, my plan was to own this property outright in 5 years because the term on a SAS loan back is generally 5 years. And it'd be quite nice to own an unencumbered property and ensure that my net cash flow is even higher. But going back to sort of one of my core reasons, it's going to provide choice. I could easily swap out this SAS loan back and then use the funds for another project, and go again. So in everything we do, it's about buying well, adding value, refinance, going again. So what am I going to do after this journey ends with 22? I want to do the same but better. I knew zilch about property before I came onto Mastermind. So over the next 6 to 12 months, I want to hit my goal. I have a goal that I want to hit. And I've got a bunch of projects that I'm working on. And as I said, I really want to sort of leverage my SaaS, and I want to leverage my contacts that I have from my media industry. I think I could probably do them a better service than when I was trying to flog them the back page ad on the Evening Standard or an ad in Candy Crush Saga by going out to them and saying, look, hey, we could work together. So what do I know? And this is coming to the end here. So what do I know? I've got a few points here. They're a bit Janet and John, but they sort of work for me. I'm quite a simple guy. It is all about mindset and focus. Property is secondary. I will raise money. I will get more projects. I know that. But what I didn't know when I started this journey is I didn't know anything, and I was so anti-self-enrichment and all these self-help books. I've never read one before. I haven't read them all. I still don't read loads of them, but I've read 3, and they've changed my life. What I do know is that I have to have the right mindset. So I've MM22, you guys, been in this environment, working with the coaches, working with JV partner. I love, being in part of this environment. I'm an ad sales guy. I've always had targets over my head. I like having targets, but I've sort of moved on from that. I'm a sucker for post-it notes. I've got my mood board up in my room. I've got pictures of things that I want to achieve, and I've got pictures of things like the CEO of Yahoo, because I never want to go back to Yahoo ever again. So, carrot and stick for me. You've got, for me, I've set goals. They are stretched, and I did choose a strategy. And I have to say, it's going to take a while for some people to choose their strategy. That's cool. But, once you've done it, I would stick to it. I feel as if I've participated in Mastermind. I've enjoyed meeting up with the South West London Massive. I enjoyed meeting up with, many of you guys, going to the PIN meetings, posting on Facebook. I reached out to loads of people on the forum and within sort of the past minders. So, I think it's important that you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It's not really a gift because we paid a lot of money to be on this course, but it's set up to provide us with the structure for success. So sort of use it. You will find your flow. For me, it happened in about month 9 when I realised that I don't have to invent the light bulb. I just need to work with other people and set myself up to make a passive income. That's what I wanted to do. So why give yourself a hard time? And I do play to my strengths. So what Simon teaches, I will do some of it that I think suited to me. But if I can't, then I'll work with other people to do so. And just finishing on this last point, well, it's penultimate point, but going back to mindset, you have to give yourself permission to succeed, really. So, I do back myself. And I ask myself that question every day about, what would it be? What would it feel like if I didn't achieve? But, I will. So it is about mindset. It's about focus. And I've loved every minute of it. And thank you very much, guys. Cheers.